The script itself was like, it was originally about this girl who was paralyzed, and it wasn't about the girl with the cerebral palsy. I met her through this open call audition, and when I met her, I just fell in love with her. And she was the last person to actually came to audition. And I just loved her vulnerability and her honesty with, for who she is, and how she was basically like, this is me, and leave it or take it. Like, I'm gonna do my best to present, but I can't do certain things and this and that. And I really enjoyed watching her through camera, and so we decided to rewrite the script. I decided to write a script. So after like a year and a half of writing, it was like 2 weeks, rewrite it. For like probably like 30-40% of the script towards the end, especially. But I think it worked out just fine, I hope.
Yeah, because then it was really quick, right? I mean, when you started to think about the feature film, it just went all very quickly.
Yeah, I had a script, and I went back to Japan in December 2017 because I was not raising any money here in the United States, because it's, who's gonna fund Asian movie especially about the girl with disability, and nobody cared for it. And so when I went back and I started researching and started reaching out to people, and the first thing I thought was like, I need to find this girl. I don't know where she's at, but I just have to find her. So I start, posting all this information around the social medias, and start reaching out to, I think me and my assistants, we reached out to like over like a little shy 1,000 organizations and social media groups, and asked them to post, open call audition information, and she found the ad on Facebook, and from that, we cast her beginning of March, and then from then the financier NHK, it's kind of like a big broadcast. It's like a BBC of Japan. One of the producer was really liked the script from years before, but then he wanted to make sure that the actress or the lead girl I'm talking about is the right person, because I didn't want to cast actress. And when he saw her audition tape, and everything just started happening. And so from March, and we had about 2 months to see what happens, if they can actually come back, help us with the fund. And we got greenlit in May, and we were shooting 2 months later. So without really knowing, if you're gonna raise the money or whatnot, it was like, money's gonna come. We're just gonna prep for this. So we just went for it, and and I think that's something sometimes that as an independent filmmaker, it's very important to, just believe in your gut, and trust your team, and just go for it. And I think everything else just fall into place if the material is supposed to be, or movie supposed to be out there. So
yeah, it did actually. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah. I grew a lot of gray hair in that month. I was just like, oh my God, I have so many gray hair. But I'm glad that it worked out.
Yeah, because prior to this feature film, you just basically only had a short film, right? I mean, which was really,
yeah. I made my first debut short film was called Suyako, and we actually played in Raindance in England. This is like 2011, and that was my wish. My first debut short film was my thesis film from USC, and then from that I made probably 3 other short films, and then I made a bunch of commercials that is like story based, Subaru commercials to Lexus, a lot of cars for some reason. But yeah, I did a bunch of those, and then as a film, you would hope that all my friends has become so successful. I have a friend, Ryan Kugler, who I went to school with, and he's after he graduated, he made Fruitvale Station, and now he made such a big Marvel movies and whatnot. And then as a filmmaker, you just always wish that it's your turn next, and you have a script, but it's just like nothing really works. And at the time, I feel being a female filmmaker was a much more difficult, 10 years ago, to start a feature film, or in that jumping from short film to feature film. So, but I think just persistent. You just have to keep.
Yeah, and
keep talking.
Not only a woman filmmaker, but also Asian woman filmmaker, which makes it all difficult.
Right, and and I think at the end of the day, I kind of knew that I should be making English-speaking movie to be successful, or to get recognized in the United States or overseas. But then I wrote a couple scripts that are English, has nothing to do with my culture or anything like that. But I think I had a moment where I was like, well, I need to tell a story that it matters to me, and this would not work if I said in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because in the United States, people are a little bit more open to helping other people. The people are more easygoing, and maybe not. Yeah, even New York, it's still much different than Tokyo. And Tokyo is, as much as people are nice, Japanese people are very nice and kind, and etc. We have our own issues, and I think that one of the issues is that if you're look like me, like if you're Asian and if you're in town, and like it seems like people don't really care to help so much, because everybody's so busy with their own lives and so caught up with their daily life. So if you're on a wheelchair, nobody stopped to help you, and it's almost like we don't exist. I mean, I went around town in my wheelchair. I rented out the wheelchair, and then I went to the city in Tokyo and in Osaka just a couple of days to see what is it like to be around in the city. And it was interesting because Osaka is the second capital, and it's a big city, and I'm from Osaka. Then every time when I get like stuck, like literally like 5 people just come and say, "Do you need help?" But then when I go to Tokyo, nobody, like literally people just pass by, and some people just like look at me like, why are you here? You're in my way, in my way. Just like it just the way they treat people in the wheelchair is so different. And I thought that there's something, I wouldn't say wrong with it, but I think people need to really recognize, the existence.
I thought it was an amazing film. I watched it a few months ago. So I first of all want to congratulate you on such an amazing film that you've made. And it was really, I think, I come from a gender background. And so I research and write about gender and motherhood in particular in Japanese media and culture. And I think so. I mean, this is obviously, that's my specific interest as well, but I really was kind of taken by how the film shows just all these, you have all these really interesting female characters in the film. And to me, it seemed like you were showing these different aspects of femininity as well. You have, as well as the central character of May, you have the mother, who's very much this sort of, taken on this identity of the Japanese mother who sacrifices everything, for her child, sacrifices her life to devote herself. And then you also have Mai, who is, again, sort of like caring for, like a maternal type figure, but also a woman, a sexual woman, but fulfilling the needs as well of someone. And you have Sayaka, who is very much, very kind of in a literal sense performing this role of this hyper feminine manga manga artist, and very in a literal sense it's a performance. And you see her on screen when she's like, very, kawaii kogaru style, and then, like a cute teenage girl, and then off screen she's quite different. She's, you know, she's not quite so cute and sweet as you put it, but it just really kind of, I think what was amazing about it was you've got all these different aspects of womanhood, but they're all kind of somehow, especially Sayaka and is it Kyoko, the mother, are very you know, quite constrained in these roles that they're performing, whereas you know, May, even though she, you know, she's in a wheelchair, but in fact she has this talent which actually gives her freedom, you know, this creative talent she has gives her a sense of freedom that the others perhaps don't have. So in a way she's more free, you know, like in Japanese you have this phrase fujiu to describe, you know, disabled people, but actually, and it means lacking freedom, not having freedom, but I felt that she was the freest, you know, because she has this great, you know, she can visualize, imagine, create these wonderful worlds, these alien galaxies, and you know, and the others are perhaps don't have that. So I don't know what you felt about that, just sort of the way that you, I don't know if that was kind of a very like something at the forefront of your mind when you were creating these characters. So that, I mean, I just love to know more about that, about how you feel about that.
I think, I guess whenever I write a script, or whenever, I mean, I guess I like to write a story that is hopeful. That's kind of something that I focus on every short films that I made, you know, commercial and whatnot, or wrote. And that I think for her character, May's character, Yuma, to get out of where she's at to the place that she never knew existed, unknown world, I think there's a lot of things that I wanted to show visually, and as far as the relationship goes, like that constrain her, like that her stuck where she is right now. And so in the very beginning, I really focused on how Sayaka was, you know, basically using her very subtly, very subtle, but you know, in the public eyes, she, you know, she was a user, and the mother, as much as there's so much love to her, but she was definitely a you know, handcuff for her, right? Like she can't go anywhere. And I think I made sure that those moments are heightened in the sense that the people can feel her struggle, not as an artist, but struggle just to be around these people. And then as she say, you know, I'm gonna move away from this, and when she start meeting, you know, the publisher, to Mai, the sex worker and whatnot, I just wanted to show a completely different, those adults are, you know, probably gone through a lot of, you know, hard time, shitty moment in their life, I'm sure. But I wanted to show, because of what they have gone through, who they become. I feel like the mother's character is somebody who was very sheltered as she was a kid. She was probably raised sheltered parents, and the house that she lives that's her parents' house, and that's a very huge house for Japanese family. So you know, those are not explained and, you know, described in the movie in any ways. And you can tell Sayaka also comes from a very wealthy family as well. So that shows, you know, who's, you know, working class to people come from, you know, privileged family, and how they can, you know, it was kind of like a juggling for me to see what works for her to get out of the situation, and meeting people who are, you know, work on the street can actually really help her to become a better person, or grow as a woman. And I guess I wanted to, I mean, Mai is, I think, a lot of people's favorite, because she's just so, you know, she's just so chill, and she's like, yeah, like, make sure you don't, you know, fuck up this one, like, I'll totally help you, but, you know, make sure you let your mom know that you're safe, etc. She's a big sister, which she never had. And there's a lot of, you know, I mean, if you're a sex worker, no matter how proud you are for what you do, you know, considering my working for, especially for people with disability, you know, she's still looked down in the society, right? She's never gonna be somebody's like, oh wow, your job is so cool. Like she's just doing it to help people and make money, obviously, because she's good at what she does. And there's a backstory. Actually, she used to be a nurse, and we shot the whole scene, and she gave a lecture. I know we completely took it out because we want to focus the story on her. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of wanted to put this, you know, spotlight on those people that people may just, you know, understand wrongly, and just kind of say, hey, like, you know, those people are workers, are, you know, doing what they are doing, what they feel is right, and, you know, they are there to help other people, and so who are we to judge, right? So I kind of wanted to make them as a hero, so that people won't, especially my culture, Japanese people, won't look them in any different way, but just we're all same, we're all human, trying to do what we think is right.
Absolutely.
Sorry, the sex worker was actually, you know, an all-round character, but at the same time I thought it was overly positive. I mean, she really kind of was a girl. As soon as she saw her, you know, I thought a bit like, you know, because it's a feel-good movie, of course I understand, but, you know, I felt sometimes, you know, they're more cynical, you know, they're more you know, just hard. They've been hardened by maybe the kind of job or whatever. So
I think
love
there's go ahead there.
Yeah, I know, I was just gonna say, I really actually loved the a couple of scenes where you contrast how, you know, obviously the scene first comes where May is with the male sex worker, and things don't quite go as well as she hopes. It's very awkward, and she's very, obviously it's her first time, and it's quite a difficult situation. But then if you contrast with Mai and Kuma-san in the car, and they're so intimate, and it's such a love, and you see that bond, and it really made me think about how, you know, we don't talk about women's sexuality enough, or women's desire, or women's needs. And so poor May is kind of reluctant, and maybe not even just because of her disability, but as a woman, I don't think we talk enough about our desires. There's not enough space. I think we're not given that space. But then to see this contrast with Mai and Kuma-san, I thought that was really kind of you know, highlighted that. So I thought that was just the way, like, obviously, yes, she's doing it for money, and which she even, you know, they bring that up in the scene, but kind of the way it's lovely the way it's done, the humor in it, but also, you know, clearly she knows him so well, and she cares, and there's more of an intimate bond there. You know, it's not just about the money. She's making him happy. You can see it just in that scene. So I found that quite lovely. And and that's why I'm hoping you'll make another film where May gets to experience that same kind of intimacy. You know, I think it would be lovely to see that for a woman as well, you know?
Yeah, you can do a sequel.
Yeah, I think we definitely want a sequel.
You know, it's funny, original script, when I wrote the one about the girl who was paralyzed, and the script was very much about who she was as a woman and what she belongs in a society. And it was, you know, it still had that journey quality to it, but it was very much more like you know, her figuring out, like, well, I can't feel anything. What if I have sex? Am I not going to feel anything? Like, it was very much about that, and who she is as a, you know, as a woman, and that she eventually may fall in love with Toshiya, and then we were kind of, you know, auditioning that moments. But then when I met May at audition, I honestly, like, she just looked so young, and she looked young already. She's 23 there, but when I saw her picture and when I actually met her in person, she looked like 15 years old. And and the more I got to know her, and after, you know, I realized that she might be the one, I spent a lot of time with her. I gave her a bath. We take shower together, or we go to movies, theater, we eat together, and we spend a lot of time together. And as I got to know her I realized that you know, the putting the relationship for the storyline, I just didn't quite fit in who she was. And then I just, as I got to know her, I just realized that she herself wanted to go onto this, she auditioned because she wanted to take on this new journey that she never experienced. And then I thought that was such a beautiful thing to just embrace it and just, you know, take her to the next journey with it, even within the story. So there's a lot of debate, like, okay, should we, you know, should she have sex or should we not? And we decided that we, this one will just let her just, you know, do whatever. And who knows, like, you know, she may have had sex, who knows, in the past, after. But we'd hope that she'll meet somebody, you know, in the future, and then so on. So yeah, we thought a lot about the possibility and what can she do and what can she have. Yeah,
but it's a character that you can definitely develop. Yeah, I really would like to see her again. Yes, definitely. Good. So Lois, have you got any question? Would you like to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Hikari. I'd just like to second what Forum said, really, for obviously producing such a beautiful film and obviously sharing that with the world. I think it's something very, very special.
Thank you. I love your flowers too.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you. I dressed up for Zoom, you guys. This is what life's become now. So my background is fashion. I'm very interested in the relationship between fashion and film. I'm especially very interested in representation. So obviously, thank you for producing this, which has such a beautiful representation in it, that I think obviously it's very specifically about her experience, but also there's so much in it so universal as well, like when you see her mum going through her things, like, I think everyone has experienced that, I think, when they're growing up and sort of going, oh no. So it's so universal whilst also being so sort of unique as a window into her life. So thank you for producing that. But obviously, as a fashion specialist, thank you so much for, you know, all the really interesting costumes, that way that kind of costumes used to construct her identity through the film. And I was wondering if maybe you could tell us a bit more about that process.
Sure. I guess I was very into fashion as a kid. I think I started making clothes before I started doing anything that I now do as a profession. I always loved fashion, you know, how you present yourself through clothes. And I think the reason why is that I grew up in Japan, where everybody looked exactly the same, right? Pretty much. You know, there's no blondie, there's no, you know, African American, we all look exactly the same, dark hair. And as Japanese, you know, at the time, you know, the people would not let you dye your hair, so we always had to wear uniform. And then I think that was something that earlier on, I wanted to express my art through, what can I do, through making clothes. So that was kind of part of the thing that I always liked. And for Yuma, this story particularly, you know, we start off her dressing down like, you know, just beige and white and gray, or, you know, dark navy hats and whatnot. But then I think there's a lot in the movie. I mean, visually, you can tell so much. You can tell so much about the characters' growth just through what they wear. You know, the way they took makeup and the way they do their hair, or even the way they carry themselves, right? And then, but for me, just because especially she's in a wheelchair, there's not much movement that she can do. You know, we are forced to look at her, nothing else, right? So for me, that was very, and a wheelchair always have to stay in the same color. So we just always wanted to, I focused on, with my designer, that what can we do to build her strengths. And even though she's wearing white, we start with her just regular, you know, normal, the color and whatnot. But then as she started experiencing, the sleeve gets shorter, or we have a little bit more thinner clothes, and you know what I'm saying? So we spent a lot of time, I mean, I spent a lot of time with my designer, who I've worked with a couple projects before. And you know, when she, it's interesting because when she goes out to meet that, go into Shinjuku and meet the prostitute, you know, she dressing up like Sayaka, right? But does it go well? We didn't, you know? So it's like, for me, it's you copying somebody else's, that's good, that's fine too. But then it really, who you are more matters more than what you look like, in the sense that you just have to be yourself and you pick what you like to wear. Don't copy somebody else if you don't feel, you know, if you're just doing it to copy somebody. So there's a little subtle things that me and my designer, again, we talked about. And then as she started going to the journey, I mean, at one point after she runs away from home, she started wearing Mai's clothes. But, you know, Mai's usually wear very short skirts and, like, you know, very feminine clothes. But then, you know, what she gives is something that maybe she wear, you know, when she's not working, you know. So, but then there's something that really made her look a little bit more mature than what she is. And so, yeah, those are, I think, the clothes wardrobe, people don't think about it, but there's a lot that you can do in costumes. And I studied theater in undergrad, and my emphasis actually was costume designing. So I used to make Shakespeare costumes, and I worked with my school was very big in Shakespeare plays and whatnot. So I kind of brought that idea, like how how all the play was built, and so you know, the what kind of costume would the character wear, etc. So those are the things that I always like to focus on. Thank you for noticing that. It's so good. That's cool.
No, it absolutely comes through. Like, every single thing that you've said, like, that resonates so much with the things that I'm interested in too. And I could see that so clearly in that film. Like, you can literally see her growth. Like, at the beginning of the film, she's almost dressed like a little boy, almost. She's got the little peak cap and a little t-shirt, and you actually see her grow through her clothing into this, you know, this sexual woman, this sexual being. And that's something that's really beautifully through that clothing. So you can really see that investment of your interest in that and your expertise in that.
I just wanted to ask you one last question that I guess everybody will be very interested to know. So what's your next project? What are you working on now?
Okay. Well, there's a few. Well, thanks to this project, I came back to LA and I started meeting a lot of producers. And right now I have 2 movies that are in development. One is for Universal Pictures. It's called Dan and Sam, and it's a graphic novel story by British writers. Graphic novel. It's a story about it's a love story between chefs, and they've been married for a long time. But then one day, a wife passed away from the car accident, and it's a story. But then she comes back once a year to see her husband. But then until he falls in love with somebody else. But it's a story really about moving forward, and, you know, what you need to do, the decisions that we make every day in our lives, and so on. So that's I've been making with a production company called Mark Platt, and they've done La La Land and whatnot. So that's one. And then I have another movie that I'm developing for it's another movie called Elnon Park. It's 2 names. I think I tend to force the names, I guess. But Elnon Park, I'm making with Plan B. It's Brad Pitt's company. And I think that one might go first before anything else. And then I have a couple TV shows that's coming up that I'll be directing for. One is for Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Apple TV show, and then another one's called Tokyo Vice. Michael Mann is doing the first episode, and that's a suspense thriller set in the 90s. So.
Amazing, really.
Yeah, there's a few things.
Really, you know, we wish you absolutely all the best, and we hope really to see something soon. So how's the situation about shooting right now? I mean,
no, everything is stopped. I think Japan is, I have a team in Japan, and they're already started shooting, like I started a couple weeks ago. But in the States, like everybody's just hold off. And I think we're gonna probably start shooting in September. Yeah. If everything works out. Yeah, but I think everybody's going through some protocol and like what they can do and what they cannot do. But for Elnon Park, we're going to be shooting in Canada, and we're doing casting and whatnot right now. But then Canada is allowing people to shoot like this end of this month. So we might get to go a little bit sooner and start shooting the project at some point. But who knows? it's a very interesting time right now. So
yes, absolutely. Even for us, you know, it seems like we only live in a virtual world right now. So, you know, we really would like to go back to the previous one. I mean, not completely, you know, I would like to keep something of this, you know, online world, because it's actually, you know, it's very rich, and it's, you know, it just definitely opens up new possibilities. But yeah, going back to the
yeah.
for films, you know, we'd like to see more films.
Yeah, I know. I want to be on set so bad. Like, take me back to set. But hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much again to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody really contributed, and, you know, it was really absolutely lovely. So we
Thank
hope to see you next time live here in London, Hikari.
Yes. I hope so too. Hopefully I'll come back with a new movie too. So.
Yes. Well,
thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.